In this video, let us cover catalog integrations. Catalog integration stores information about how your table metadata is organized. You need one when not using Snowflake as the catalog, or when integrating with Snowflake Open Catalog. So it's a named account level object linking Snowflake to external catalogs. So I have listed here different external catalogs, the way you can integrate that with Snowflake. Example, AWS Glue, Snowflake Open Catalog, Iceberg files in object storage, Delta files that are created from Unity Catalog or other engines. Starting with AWS Glue, use AWS Glue Catalog as an external catalog. Specify the catalog table name to map the Glue table. Create a REST catalog integration for write support. Similarly, Snowflake Open Catalog. Built on open source Apache Iceberg REST protocol, query, write to, or think Snowflake managed tables. Snowflake Open Catalog supports vendor credentials. Iceberg files in object store. Let's see if there are Iceberg files in S3, ADLS, or Google Cloud. Point directly to Iceberg metadata files. Provide the metadata file path on create or alter table and manually set the refresh. Delta table files. Let's say if you have Delta Lake files in your object store, create Iceberg tables from the Delta Lake files. Snowflake reads Delta logs and auto-interprets partitioning. Currently, Delta Reader version 2 is supported, but it is an ongoing release update, so you would expect the newer versions also to be supported. Max 1000 Delta commit files per refresh. Checkpoint files not processed on refresh. Let us see example of each one of them. AWS Glue, there are two ways to use catalog integration. The legacy way of doing is directly referring catalog source as Glue and table format as Iceberg, and provide the Glue AWS role ARN, and provide the catalog ID, the Glue region, and the namespace. The refresh interval also provided default, I believe it is 30. But there is a recent recommended version from Snowflake to use Iceberg REST catalog for externally supported catalogs. If you take a close look at the syntax, create catalog integration, glue REST int is the name of the catalog integration. Catalog source is Iceberg REST, and table format is Iceberg. Catalog namespace is the namespace that you want to give. And REST config, provide the catalog URI. Here it is Glue URI. Catalog API type, which is AWS Glue. Catalog name is the AWS account ID. Access delegation mode is vendor credentials, which means you don't have to provide the permanent credentials when creating an integration, catalog integration. If you take a look at the REST way of doing is the recommended approach. Let's move on to the next slide that also talks about catalog integration on Open Catalog. We also have an example for generic Iceberg REST Typically, there are other REST catalogs like Tabular, how you would be connecting to them. On the right side, you can closely look at the catalog source is Polaris, table format is Iceberg, catalog namespace is whatever the namespace that you want to give, and REST configs is the URL, URI configuration, and the catalog name and access delegation mode, that is vendor credentials. You have REST authentication with the auth methodology that you want to, which auth methodology that you would use. In this case, it is OAuth. If you come here on the right side, it is a generic Iceberg REST catalog. It could be a tabular or any REST catalogs that Iceberg is supported. You would say catalog source is an Iceberg REST, format is Iceberg, namespace default, REST configuration, the URI, and the catalog name. The delegation mode is vendor credentials. It also provide the REST authentication mode. If it is OAuth, it is OAuth token URI, corresponding client ID, secret, and load scope. In this way, you would be able to connect using the catalog integration by defining how you want to externally access an Iceberg table via external catalogs from Snowflake. In this slide, you would see an Iceberg metadata file in an object store on the right side. An example for that is create a catalog integration with catalog source as object store. With table format is Iceberg and enabled as an option is true. How you would refer this when you create a table, you refer to an external volume, also the catalog name that you have created, but you would have to provide the latest metadata file and you directly refer to an object store because there is no catalog available. So you would also have to manually refresh to sync the new snapshot every time. On the right side, delta table files in object store. You would create a catalog integration saying my catalog source is an object store, but table format is delta. Refresh interval seconds is 120 here, but if you don't specify, I think it might be a default value is taken that you can refer in Snowflake official documentation. Here, if you take a look at the table syntax, it refers to the catalog name, external volume, base location, where you would read the delta files, and auto refresh set to true. I believe it is currently 30 seconds. Snowflake auto interprets delta partitioning from the delta log transaction log. On the Iceberg files and delta files, if you compare the refresh path, we have to specify the new metadata file path every time for object store when you are not using a catalog. So there is no auto refresh. You have to manually refresh or schedule a task. On the delta file side, currently there is a limit of 1000 commits per refresh. After checkpoint, continues from the last position. Partition auto detection, Snowflake reads partition scheme from delta log. Auto refresh is set to true, which means Snowflake polls on refresh time interval seconds that are defined. A quick summary of the different external catalog sources and the auth methodology, auto refresh, vendor credentials, write support, and best for. So if you closely take a look at here, vendor credentials are available for Iceberg REST catalog generic or any catalogs that support Iceberg REST. And auto refresh is available for object store delta and also typically for any REST catalogs, but not for the object store, which is table format Iceberg, if no catalog is referenced. And you also see on the last column each catalog, and it is best for proper use case. One important thing I want to highlight here is Iceberg REST, which is a generic catalog integration that can be used to refer Tabular, Unity Catalog, Apache Polaris, etc. With that, we'll close the video with catalog integration service from Snowflake.